Aloha, I'm Scott, the Astro Manager, and I want to start something new today. This will be the beginning of what I hope will be a series of small videos based on my email management class. So over the years, I and several colleagues developed sort of a series of productivity courses. It started off with a directive from executive leadership telling us to teach people to do what they say they're going to do so they can get more work done. And we kind of changed that mandate a little bit as time went on, but we ended up developing sort of 4 2-hour kind of length courses and seminars. First focuses on effective, better emails. The next on task management. Then successful delegation. And finally, better meetings. And those actually worked pretty well, and we've evolved that content over the years. And it got towards the end of that phase when I realized that that focus on productivity was good and useful, but it was only part of the equation. There's still a little bit, you can have your emails organized, you can have more efficient emails, fewer emails, you can have your task management system, you can delegate well, you can have good meetings, and you still have too much on your plate. There's still too much to do. And so I followed up with sort of 2 additional courses. One is focused on getting the right things done, so task prioritization, and the final one on sort of taking a step back, making time to do nothing, right? All these initial 4 courses were really focused on productivity, and this last one is focused on there's more to life than efficient, constant evolution in pursuit of productivity. So that's the last one. And I also have some different seminars in different lengths on project management, system engineering, instrumentation development, and leadership. But I want to start off by just breaking something down. I think I can break these into small chunks. This one's going to be a little bit longer since you have this nice introduction. And then I want to release a few, one chunk at a time, one little bit, one concept at a time, and see if this is a useful mechanism or not for people. So I want to start with email management and sort of better emails. And the 2 main goals of this training really is to help you better manage your inbox, so you have fewer things that are sitting there unread. How many have very long email inboxes with hundreds of emails in them, or perhaps emails that are many days, months, weeks, years old, and sometimes they simply fall through the cracks and don't get addressed. So I want to focus on managing that and focus on sending more efficient emails and learning to treat email as its own unique form of communication, and how best to use email in that form so that you get more work done, you're more efficient, more productivity with your emails. So normally at this point I'd ask people, what are your frustrations with emails, and we talk about different ones and how we're going to address those here. I can't do that in this non-interactive session, but think about that. And the one thing I do want to ask is, have you ever had an email request ignored? Right? You send something out, you don't get a response. How did that make you feel? Whereas if you ask somebody to do something directly, face to face, and they ignore you. Hey Joe, can you do me a favor? No response. We don't accept that. Yet we're often on the receiving end of ignored email, and heaven forbid, we're sometimes on the offering end, right, of ignored email. Sometimes on purpose because we're thinking about what to do, we want to check with somebody, we want to investigate before we respond, we're too busy to respond. Sometimes on accident because the emails just get lost in this great flow of emails. And so we want to just get beyond that and avoid those situations, right? And so that's a part of what we'll be discussing here in this series. So the outline of what we want to discuss is communicating with integrity. So this is making sure that you're very clear in what you're asking and in your responses. You're clear in how you're responding, and various different forms of how to do that. I'll start with some definitions, and that'll help us through the remainder of the rest of the material to have a common framework. Then we'll look at how do we write better emails. How do you get emails that may get your point across more readily and more quickly and are easier for the person to respond to, right? You want the person to respond to your email. How do you focus, structure, set up your email, compose your email so that you get the response you need? How do you reduce the number of emails you get so you can manage your flow better? And key, send fewer emails. We'll talk about when and how to do that. Also, setting up email filters so you can process things you don't normally need to look at, a more efficient way. And then processing your emails. What's the best from a task management approach? How do you don't want to leave emails. I was guilty of this for a long time, and I still am. You read an email, you're not sure what to do with it, you unread it, you read it again, still not sure what to do with it, you unread it, maybe you leave it there, maybe you star it, and you're going back multiple times to reading that email. Each time, that's a minute, 30 seconds, a few minutes that you're spending on that same email. So we want to come up with a better way so that you're not going back to an email and you're not spending multiple chunks of time managing that. And then we'll talk about just kind of various tips and tricks of different things you might want to do to sort of manage your email better. So I want to start with defining some vocabulary that we'll use sort of throughout this session. And it's important to sort of define what you're asking for and then how you're responding. So if you're requesting something from somebody, there's different ways you can request it. There's an invitation, which is simply, I'm inviting you to do this. You can say yes or no, and you don't need to respond. There's a request. Now I'm asking specifically for you to promise to do something. I'm asking you, will you do this? And that requires a response. You can accept it. You can say, yes, I will promise to do this. You can decline. No, I do not promise to do that. Or you may counteroffer. You may make your own offer. I propose to promise to do this instead. Or I can make a demand. You must do this, or there will be consequences. So the difference between request and demand is I'm not giving you the option to say no without you suffering some consequences. A request, I'm giving you the option to say no, but I'm asking for a promise. And an invitation is, you can come to my party or not, you can do this or not, you don't even have to tell me. You may make a declaration, whereas I might do something. I'll come to your party. When? For how long will you stay? It's not necessarily a promise. So it just, I might do something. I'm willing to do this, to consider this. That's different than making a promise. I'm willing, where an offer is, or promise is, I promise to do this. An offer is a statement that I'm willing to promise to do this. It's not a promise until the other person accepts it. So an offer is, I'm willing to come to your party at 6 o'clock tonight with my friend. A promise, I will do it. So it's not I'm not offering a promise, now I'm saying I will do it, right? I'm willing to do something versus I will do something. An offer versus a promise. And then there's a revocation. I retract my promise. I can no longer make it to your party. I will not come. Sorry about that. Right. So those are the fourth on the receiving end. Usually when we think of emails, we're thinking of we are asking somebody to do something for us. And that's when it's very important to keep in mind, are you making an invitation that the person has the option to say yes or no and doesn't have to get back to you? A request, they may say yes or no or counteroffer, and they must get back to you. Or a demand, you need to do this, and if you don't, there will be consequences. And if you're returning, you're on the other end of that. Are you going to accept, decline, or counteroffer? Are you going to initiate your own offer and a declaration or an offer? Are you promising? Are you retracting? Right? And so that's the vocabulary we want to use going forward as we learn to basically write emails that are very clear and then responses that are very clear, so that everybody's clear on what's happening. And I tend to call this writing emails or communicating with integrity. So it's very clear what you're asking, it's very clear what you're promising. And that's what I mean by integrity. Everybody knows what you're going to do, and you are able to follow through. So that's the vocabulary we're going to use. And just thinking about, when I asked originally, right, if How many of us have gotten emails that we didn't get a response, or that we don't respond to? We send emails, don't get a response, or we get one that we don't respond to. But we wouldn't do that face to face. So, the same kind of thing, the same kind of question here, right? If you don't respond appropriately to an email, someone's asking you for a request and you respond with a declaration. Is that acting with integrity? Is that closing the loop? Right? If you send emails that are not clear what you're asking for, are you asking me to promise something? Are you giving me an invitation? What is it you actually want me to do here? That also is not communicating with integrity in a clear, efficient manner that helps move the ball forward. And so we're going to take these concepts now, and the next stage we'll start figuring out how to structure emails around these concepts so that you are communicating with integrity and that you are being very clear on what you're asking for or what you're responding to. So that's it, and I hope you see me next time. Thanks. Bye-bye.